gambling. It's a little different than last time. We pretty much gave you like the overview on like how to set up an account last time, what it was, what the legal aspects of it, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth with it this time. Pretty much I'm going to look at the history where the sites came from before it hit the U.S. And also we're going to talk about the present day, the international aspect of it, and of course the future of online gambling. This is easy. So obviously the top three forums are sports betting, casino, and online poker. Just a little pre-US history. Obviously, like the online gambling came around in the 90s, but really like boosted off of 1994 when the government of the Caribbean island, Antigua, Barbuda, passed a law that enables online casinos to operate from their homeland to this day. It's called the Free Trade and Processing Zone Act. This act basically authorized for giving out gaming licenses to any persons or companies who wanted to start an internet casino. But even though the law was passed, there wasn't software capable to build these sites until Cryptologic was, but I'll talk about that because a company was created. So pretty much the two guys that started the software called Cryptologic, which makes the sites like be able to run, Andrew and Mark Rivkin, they formed this company and began creating the software. Pretty much they just like created the first one, and then it just like now everybody that does sites just kind of bases it off of it. It's still used today, the same software that they created. But people remember obviously once these guys created the software, it created the process of online gambling and like the pros and cons that come with it. I just like wrote about a couple things. A couple people that jumped on the bandwagon were Argentina and the UK territories, but Canada was also one of the first countries to start online casinos. It regulated online gambling by forming a body called the Kanawaki Gaming Commission. I like looked at their website and I thought that their policy was interesting. It said, "We believe that the most responsible and logical public policy is for governments throughout the world to regulate online gambling rather than attempt to prohibit it." So they were really for online gambling.
So I'm going to do, I pretty much did the recent history with respect to like litigation and the legal aspects that have gone on, and like the scams and controversies, dealing with online gambling. It's been around for 16 years, and it started in 1961. This Federal Wire Act, it restricted all like internet wire transfers financially, and so placing wagers and bets on sporting events and stuff like that was restricted on this. So technically, like under the law, under this Wire Act, it's illegal to like transfer the funds from, like we talked about in the last presentation. When you transfer the funds, it's not going from the United States bank to a foreign bank. It goes into this middleman, where then it goes to the foreign bank. So that's how they are able to kind of beat the system up. Normally, they don't. They're really strict about sports betting. That's really the enforcement that they target, and you rarely see individuals prosecuted. It's more, I think, they're targeting the gambling websites as a whole. And also, advertising gambling became illegal, which I'll talk about a little bit. So just a brief background of like how it came to be today and where we are today. Recently was, I think it's today or tomorrow that Washington D.C. is on the verge of making online gambling legal. But in 1995, the first online casinos appeared. Planet Poker, which you guys might have, some of you have heard of, is the first true online one in the room. In '99, Representative Virginia introduced the Internet Prohibition Gambling Act, I should say, but that was shut down. And then under pressure from the Justice Department, several banks had to block customers from using like credit cards for online gambling, but still, like I said, there's ways around that. And the credit cards, I think it's like 2 to 5% on every purchase that they make and stuff. So in May, this was really when all this like started to take off with Chris Moneymaker. He won the World Series of Poker, and he came on and said that he, mainly practiced with online. And then back to advertising, the Justice Department warns broadcasters about advertising online and airing ads, and they could be prosecuted in that. I think in 2006, I believe, right in 2004, Google and Yahoo took all their ads off their sites and instituted strict policies around it. In June, Party Gaming the owner of it took the site public on the London Stock Exchange. Another representative from Iowa introduced similar Internet Gambling Prohibition Act, banning credit card payments and sites, but eventually shut down the Senate. Once again, the representative from the left reintroduces his internet ban on internet gambling and dies in the committee. Then, most recently, the biggest issue was when President Bush signed the Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act, which is also known as the UIGA. And it was kind of a version of those two proposals by Representatives Leach and Philip. And then, which I'll talk about a little bit later, in July of 2006, federal agents arrested Bet on Sports CEO David Caruthers and 10 others in an online gambling sting, charging them with conspiracy, racketeering, and fraud under the Wire Act. And they also, the CEO and the guy, what's his name here? I'll talk about it a little bit. And then 2007, authorities, you guys have probably heard of NetTeller. NetTeller used to be in the U.S., based in taking process in the U.S. They were arrested, but ended up coming to a deal with prosecutors with their settlement. That's it. So they ended up having to pay, I think it was $136 million, and they had lost 2/3 of business because they were based in the U.S., but they still are around in foreign countries. They're going to talk about a little later. Barney Frank of Massachusetts, representative, introduced the repeal to the Unlawful Internet Gambling Act, which is sort of taking shape in Massachusetts, Nevada, California, New Jersey, and a few other states have been pretty adamant about trying to legalize internet gambling. So this is the litigation of the Bet on Sports that they arrested the two guys. Actually, the founder, Gary, the guy I was talking about, and the CEO. I won't go through the whole thing, but they arrested both of them on money laundering, conspiracy stuff, and they're both in jail right now. They ended up settling because they exchanged for lesser sentences because they testified. Characters testified against the founder, and then Kaplan reached a plea deal with the prosecution. Well, one of them was in prison for like 4 years, one of them I think a little over 5. Some similar cases we talked about NetTeller supporting that. A lot of times when they do end up getting in trouble, we see a settlement happen with these big companies. They end up having to pay back the forfeit the money that they gained.